Welcome to the expansion and relocation history of the SPHL. The SPHL formed in 2004 with 8 franchises. 3 of the 8 franchises came from the WHA2 in the Jacksonville Barracudas, Macon Tracks, and Asheville Aces. Asheville was actually slated to be an expansion franchise in the WHA2. 2 of the 8 franchises came from the Southeast Hockey League, the Knoxville Ice Bears, and the Fayetteville Fire Ants. And 3 of the 8 franchises were expansion franchises, not coming from either the WHA2 or the Southeast Hockey League. 2 of those 3, the Huntsville Havoc and the Winston-Salem Polar Twins, were replacing SEHL franchises in the same locations that folded in the Huntsville Channel Cats and the Winston-Salem T-Birds. The other expansion franchise, the Columbus Cottonmouths, were moving down from the ECHL. The original 8 would make up the inaugural season of the SPHL in 04-05. Florida Seals would join for the second season in 2005. The Florida Seals were announced as an expansion franchise in 2004, effective for the 05-06 season. However, a trio of the original 8 would fold after the SPHL's inaugural season, starting with the Macon Tracks. While the team barely met the 1,100 per game announced attendance average needed to extend the team's lease, the turnstile attendance was actually just below 900. The owner was regretful, but said he cannot keep losing money and there was just no market in Macon. The next domino to fall was the Winston-Salem Polar Twins. The Huntsville Havoc owner actually financed the Polar Twins for their first season in order for the team to play in the SPHL, but he didn't want to own 2 teams anymore. The team actually increased attendance from its predecessor, the T-Birds, who averaged 780, to 1,500 as the Polar Twins, despite a 14-42 last place finish. And finally, the Asheville Aces would fold. The Aces would fold after being unable to reach an agreement on a new lease with the city. Their preference was to pay about half of the $235,000 the city gouged out of them in their inaugural season, when previous ownership rather dumbly agreed to a sliding scale based on attendance. The city, though, declined to renegotiate until the team paid a debt about 2 months in arrears of either $14,000 or $18,000 depending on the source. The team averaged 767 paid tickets per game and lost over $100,000. However, the city did profit off the Aces according to their profit loss statements. The Asheville Aces co-owner would actually get an expansion franchise in Florence, South Carolina, named the PD Cyclones. The SPHL would have 7 franchises in 05-06, with the PD Cyclones and Florida Seals joining. The Richmond Renegades would join in 2006. The Richmond Renegades would replace Richmond's UHL franchise, which lost $500,000. The Richmond Renegades would bring the SPHL up to 8 for 06-07. The PD Cyclones would relocate in 2007. Florence, South Carolina would not let the team get a break on their lease, and Winston-Salem's offer would save the team $3,500 per game. Turnstile attendance was 692 per game through February. That 692 turnstile attendance was less than half of their announced attendance, which was slightly below 1,500. They would relocate to Winston-Salem, becoming the Twin City Cyclones. The Florida Seals would fold in 2007. The Seals were actually locked out of their arena after the team defaulted on their lease, canceling a game. The players were kicked out of apartments because they were furnished by the team, and the team folded 26 games into the 56-game season. The SPHL was down to 7 teams in 07-08, with the Twin City Cyclones in their first season in their new location. The Jacksonville Barracudas would fold in 2008. The team had to move after Veterans Memorial Arena increased the lease, given the team's lack of revenue generation, to justify the expenses of setting up the facility for hockey. The 16,000-seat Veterans Memorial Arena was way too big for the Barracudas, so they moved to the 1,200-seat Jacksonville Ice this past season, which was too small. Because that arena was too small, the Barracudas suspended operations but never returned, as Jacksonville Ice was only intended to be a stopgap measure until a rink could be located or built in Jacksonville or nearby community. The SPHL was now down to 6 franchises in 08-09. The Richmond Renegades would fold in 2009. The team cited a lack of sponsors and investors and negligible season ticket sales for next season. The Twin City Cyclones would be the next casualty, folding in 2009. The team did not meet the 2,200 to 2,300 average attendance needed to break even. The team explored relocation, but nothing came to fruition, and the owner was granted the Augusta expansion franchise in 2010. The Mississippi Surge would join in 2009. The team would play at the Mississippi Coast Coliseum. The Louisiana Ice Gators would join in 2009. The original Louisiana Ice Gators played in the ECHL in the Cajun Dome from 95 to 05, averaging over 11,000 attendance twice in the 90s. The Pensacola Ice Flyers would join in 2009. The county required 1,250 season ticket sales. The Ice Flyers referred to Pensacola's heritage in naval aviation, as well as the original owner's time on the Philadelphia Flyers. The SPHL was now up to 7 franchises in 2009-2010, with the Pensacola Ice Flyers, Louisiana Ice Gators, and Mississippi Surge. The Augusta Riverhawks would join in 2010. The Twin City Cyclones owner was granted an expansion franchise in Augusta. The SPHL was now up to 8 in 2010-2011 with the addition of the Augusta Riverhawks. Mississippi River Kings would join in 2011. The River Kings would switch to the SPHL after 19 years in the CHL. The SPHL was now up to 9 franchises in 2011-2012 and 2012-2013 with the addition of the River Kings. The Augusta Riverhawks would suspend operations in 2013. The ice refrigeration system melted, forcing the team to relocate to a practice facility where attendance was limited to season ticket holders and sponsors. An agreement could not be reached to replace the ice system, and the organization would take 2 years off before resurfacing in Macon in 2015 after exploring Greensboro, Tallahassee, and Lake City. The Peoria Rivermen would join in 2013. The SPHL goes north for the first time in central Illinois. The Peoria Rivermen had a decades-long minor league hockey history with the IHL, ECHL, and AHL. The Rivermen would be playing at Carver Arena inside the Peoria Civic Center, also home of the Bradley Braves. The Bloomington Thunder would join in 2013. The SPHL would double dip with Peoria and Bloomington, cities 45 minutes apart, in 2 cities which have already had a century-long rivalry in college basketball with the Bradley Braves in Peoria and the Illinois State Redbirds in Bloomington Normal. The same ownership group would operate both Peoria and Bloomington. The Peoria Rivermen and Bloomington Thunder would bring the SPHL up to 10 franchises in 2013-14. But the Bloomington Thunder would fold after 1 season in 2014. Bloomington instead switched to the USHL. The Mississippi Surge would suspend operations in 2014. The Surge had been on thin ice in the previous 2 years, as a season ticket drive was only able to increase season ticket holders from 600 to 816. The franchise became the Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs 2 years later in 2016. The SPHL was now down to 8 franchises. The Macon Mayhem would join in 2015. The SPHL would return to Macon 10 years after the Macon Tracks folded. The Macon Mayhem would be the same franchise as the Augusta Riverhawks, who took a 2-year hiatus in 2013 and explored relocation to Greensboro, Tallahassee, and Lake City. The SPHL was now up to 9 in 2015-16 with the addition of the Macon Mayhem. The Louisiana Ice Gators would suspend operations in 2016. They suspended operations due to renovations at the Cajun Dome. The franchise relocated 2 years later and resurfaced as the Quad Cities Storm. The Evansville Thunderbolts would join in 2016. With the ECHL's Evansville Icemen moving, a local businessman stepped up and purchased an SPHL expansion franchise. The Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs would join in 2016. The Rail Yard Dogs resurrected the dormant Mississippi Surge franchise that suspended operations in 2014. The additions of the Evansville Thunderbolts and the Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs would bring the SPHL up to 10 franchises in 2016-17. The Birmingham Bulls would join in 2017. The owner previously owned the ECHL's Birmingham Bulls in the 90s. The Columbus Cottonmouths would fold in 2017. Ownership wanted to sell the team due to mounting financial losses. A deal was set to go for new ownership for the 2018-19 season to rebrand the team into the Columbus Burn, but the league terminated the application. The Fayetteville Fire Ants would be sold and rebranded as the Fayetteville Marksmen in 2017. The name and logo reflected the local Army post Fort Liberty and the native Carolina Red Fox. The SPHL was at 10 teams in 2017-18, with the Birmingham Bulls joining the league. The Mississippi River Kings would fold in 2018 after new ownership could not be found. The Quad City Storm would join in 2018. The ECHL obtained the rights to the Quad City Mallards trademark, so that was unavailable. The Quad City Storm would replace the dormant Louisiana Ice Gators franchise. The SPHL would have 10 franchises with the Quad City Storm on board for the next 3 seasons, 2018-19, 2019-20, and 2020-21, 3 years. When the Vermilion County Bobcats would join in 2021, the franchise would be located in Danville, Illinois, giving the SPHL a Midwestern quadrant with Evansville, Peoria, Danville, and the Quad Cities. With a franchise in Danville, the SPHL was now at 11 for the next 2 seasons. Until the Vermilion County Bobcats would fold in 2023, the team was behind on rental payments to the arena, and the team actually did not show up for its February 5, 2023 home game, despite 409 fans showing up. The team eclipsed 603 attendance only 3 times in 18 home games during 2022-2023. It would leave the SPHL with 10 franchises for 2023-2024 and 2024-2025.